So you watched your first episode of Critical Role, or you played in your very first game of Dungeons & Dragons, and now you want to take it to the next level. You want to become the Dungeon Master. Here are 4 easy peasy rules to think about to make yourself a better game master, or dungeon master, whatever. So let's start with pillar 1. Roleplay.
Please, begin to offer your coin.
Now, when I'm saying roleplay, I'm talking about that time in between, the math rock rolling, when you're just talking, describing the environment, describing your characters, speaking as your characters, little halfling diddlywinks, or whatever you want to name them, ankle biter, the goblin king, Morkborgish, blah, blah.
Don't steal!
First part of role-playing is accents really aren't that important. I know. You watched Critical Role and you think it's the most important thing ever. It's not. What do you mean accents aren't important? That was terrible. If you can't put on a Cockney accent or Irish accent, as is 98% of the role-play accents out there in fantasy tabletop games, no big deal. You can convey a lot of things just with your own voice. So, is your character tired? Is your character angry? Is the character curious or perplexed? Are they intoxicated? You don't have to try this fake Scottish accent just to try and make your roleplay good. You can do a lot of things just with inflection, changing the pitch of your voice, and then kind of thinking about how you would feel in a situation if you were tired or angry, mad or sad, and put that emotion into that character. You can even do things by just making your voice a little deeper, talking with a slight vibrato. Vibrato is not the term, but just a pitch. You don't even have to get into those particulars, but inflection is really all you need to roleplay effectively. You don't need to put on the fake Irish accent, because I definitely can't do it, and I'm not going to try, and I'm not going to embarrass myself here. Ha, gotcha. The other part is to think about your characters. What's important to them? So, is your character invested in saving the town? Are they attacking the town? Are they a hothead? Are they kind? Are they charming?
You're breathtaking! You're all breathtaking!
Those things will affect how they talk to the party. So if they're a hothead and your party keeps dragging things out, they might get angry with them and start to lose their patience, and anything they try to say won't work on them anymore. You get the point. These things, just little bits of this goes a long way. You don't need the whole 9 yards. You don't need to be Matt Mercer, because honestly, how many people that play Dungeons & Dragons are there that are professional voice actors or theater kids or whatever? Not everybody, not a lot of them. Some of them. If you can do it, good on you. If you can't, it's not a big deal. Encounter design. What do I mean by that? There's everything from your combat scenarios to being in the wilderness, dungeon delving, and social encounters.
It will test your head and your mind and your brain, too.
You can make a lot of points in this, but I'm just going to keep it simple here. I like to follow a mountain-valley approach to these things. So mountaintop, play your characters, they're at the highest high. These are encounters specifically designed for their strengths. So they get into these encounters and they just nail them. On the other side of that, from the mountaintops, we have the valley bottoms. Now, the valleys are for where you challenge your players. These encounters need to be difficult by the skin of their teeth, near impossible. There needs to be this challenge to things. Otherwise, the mountaintops don't feel near as good. And when they do start coming out of that valley bottom and rising up the next mountain, they feel that reward of coming out of that valley. It actually has meaning. So let's use an example. Your player characters get into a fight with a necromancer in his lair, and the fight is just tough. Everyone's going down. We're using all our spell slots. We're using consumable things that they've been holding on to for 10 sessions, and a player character dies. But they get out of that situation, they slay the necromancer, and they win. That feels meaningful. Death needs to be in your campaigns, because if it's not, and they feel invincible, no matter even if it's a hard encounter, then what does it even mean? It kind of takes the tension out of everything, so it's important. But you see what I mean by the valleys. Ebb and flow. When they're coming out of that valley, up the mountain, and then reach that mountaintop, it's just gonna feel good. World building. What I mean by world building is not necessarily lore and things like that, though that is important. It's not as important to just have fun than you may think. You can have fun without spending 100 hours of your life coming up with the lore to a land called Arlething that has all these continents and countries and dialects and dungeons and history and gods.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
It's not important to have fun. Now, it's great. Totally encourage it. But we can just take a bare new look at world building and just talk about how you describe the world. Let's start simple. Let's take the 5 senses. What do your player characters see, hear, touch, taste, feel? Editor Yug, he meant to say smell. You can touch on any of these things, and it's going to help build the scene around them, build the world. What do they see? Are there villagers out in the town? Is there a blacksmith outside hammering away on an anvil with a sword? Are there guards bustling about? Are the buildings crumbling? Are they pristine? Are they Tudor? Are they cobblestone? Is there ivy hanging down the wall? Are there flowers abloom? Graffiti on the walls? I don't know. Anything like that. What do they hear? Is there a crazy man at the corner spouting about the end of the world? Do you hear livestock neighing or whatever livestock does? Horse. Are they out in the wilderness? Are there birds chirping? Do you hear buzzing of mosquitoes? These types of things. Smell. Is there a dusty smell? Damp. Dank. Murky. Putrid. Vagrant. Yeah, it's pretty easy. Taste. Taste, a little less use than, say, smell, because it's a little tougher to convey. But think about taste as the air quality. Is the air stale? Is it moist? Is it dry? If your player characters are in a desert environment, you can describe a situation as, your mouth is dry as your tongue clings to the roof of your mouth. Feel. Is there a breeze? Do they feel mud on their boots? Is it cold? Is it hot? Is it unbearably hot? Important use the adjectives with all these as well. Take all 5 of these things and kind of combine them together into a scene to build that environment directly around the PCs. It's important. Just give enough to give the players a sense of the world around them and something to do. You don't need to throw 1,000 words at them just to tell them where the tavern is. Story!
I'm a storyteller. I'm a master of storytelling. I'm a chief executive officer of storytelling.
I like to use the KISS method with story. Keep it simple, stupid. Here's the thing about story. You can spend a ton of time writing this vast drama that's epic and has all this stuff and meaty encounters and villains and supporting characters and kings and nobles and jesters and necromancers and whatever, lusty barmaids.
Gaga, I got your milkies.
It's ultimately going to get derailed. If you want to write a good story, write a book. If you want to write a good RPG campaign, write a good RPG campaign. Here's the thing. The story is an ever-developing thing. These player characters are going to make decisions that you will never see coming. When it comes to story, really it's simple. Give the PC something that's a problem. Give them something that they need to fix. And ideally, when these situations come up, they need to be adventurers.
I'm going on an adventure!
Maybe not always, but a lot of times, they need to want to go out of their town, to leave the comfort of their homes to do something. Give them a problem that they all want to fix. Obviously, if a band of orcs are attacking their town and they all live there, they probably want to stop that. And if they're adventurers, they have the means to do so and want to do so. That's simple, but sometimes that's all it needs to be. And from there, you can weave in more complex things. Usually, at the very beginning, keep it simple. Call to action, get them out of home, get them somewhere. And then as that story develops, you can drop in little nuggets to things that lead to other things. And they may not even be interested in those things. Or they may find something and say, oh, that is very interesting to me, and pursue it. And you may have thought that was such a minor detail and they think it's huge. Plan based on your player character's decisions, because this is a story told between you and the players. And if you decide that you want them to go on this long trek to kill the Lich at level 20, but you keep Deus Ex Machina the villains, that feels cheap. And they're not going to have fun if they think they can't kill the bad guy every time they reduce his hit points to 0. So build the story with the characters. You can get a few steps ahead, so have an encounter and have a few ideas for what happens afterwards. Do they kill him? Do they spare their life? Does that character whomp them and they barely get out alive? What happens next?
Just a flesh wound.
Everything is a matter of consequence, and it's your idea as a dungeon master to figure out what that consequence is and what is the driving force forward after that. So don't spend a whole week trying to write a story for 10 sessions in the future, because most likely you're going to end up somewhere totally different. So that about sums it up here. And these are very basic low-level tips. Obviously, these can be more complex as you go along, but if you keep these in mind, anybody can be a DM, and you don't even have to be, quote-unquote, that good at any of these. You don't have to be an excellent role player. That was terrible. You don't have to have a 1,000-page book on the world and history and the story of where things go, and you don't have to read a whole paragraph every time they open a door. It's easy. Now, God's fun. Do it. Roll nat 20s. Get out of here. Go. Go play a game. Go. Yeah. Go play Pathfinder. D&D. I don't know. Catan.